Now we are going to learn about access control in MongoDB. So in any database, we need to protect database from unauthorized access. Ensure only authorized users can access data and then control what actions each user can perform. Let us take an real-time example, college examination cell. Imagine anyone can enter the college exam cell and access student mark records. They could view the confidential marks, they can modify the student records, or even they can delete important information. So, to prevent this, only authorized staff members are allowed to access the examination records. Similarly, a database also contains valuable information. If everyone is allowed to access it without restrictions, anyone can read, modify, or delete important data. To solve this problem, MongoDB provides a security feature called access control. So, what is access control? It is a security mechanism that determines who can access the database and what operations they are allowed to perform. In simple terms, access control answers two important questions. First question is who you are. Second question is what are you allowed to do? So these two questions are handled using authentication and authorization. First, let us understand authentication. Authentication means verifying the identity of a user. So whenever we log into MongoDB, we provide a username and password. MongoDB checks whether these credentials are valid. If username and password are correct, MongoDB recognizes the user and allows the login. If the credentials are incorrect, access is denied. A simple real-time example is logging into Gmail account. Only after entering the correct username and password, we are allowed to access the mailbox. Authentication in MongoDB works in the same way. Next is authorization. Once a user is authenticated, MongoDB performs authorization. Authorization decides what actions the authenticated user is allowed to perform. Consider a college database. An administrator will be there. He has the privilege to create database, create users, delete collections, and perform backups. A faculty member, they can insert or update student marks, but they cannot create new users. And then a student, they can only view their own marks. Notice all three users have successfully logged in. However, each user has different permissions. This is called authorization. Next, access control in MongoDB. So MongoDB uses role-based access control, that is known as RBAC, to implement authorization. So instead of assigning permissions individually to every user, MongoDB groups related permissions into roles. For example, there are 10 faculty members. All read permission to read, insert, update, and delete student records. Without roles, we have to assign these four permissions separately to each faculty member. So this would be repetitive and difficult to manage. So instead, MongoDB provides a built-in read-write role. So this role already contains all these permissions. Okay. Now, instead of assigning four different permissions separately, we can assign each faculty member. This makes administration easier. So how does this authentication and authorization works? The process is very simple. First, the user logs in. MongoDB performs authentication by verifying the username and password. If the login is successful, MongoDB performs authorization. During authorization, MongoDB checks the user's assigned role and permissions. Finally, MongoDB either allows or denies the requested operation. So the complete flow is user login, authentication, authorization, and then either to allow or deny the access. If you see the default behavior of MongoDB, by default, access control is not enabled. This means anyone connecting from the local machine can access MongoDB without providing a username or password. They can create database, insert documents, update records, or even delete data. Although this is convenient during learning, it is not secure for real world applications. Therefore, before deploying MongoDB in production, we need to enable access control. So before enabling access control, we need to create users first. So in this example, we create an administrator user called admin user. This user is assigned the user admin role. We create another user called app user. This user receives the read-write role on MyDB database. A read-write user can delete documents, insert documents, update existing documents, and delete documents. Notice that each user receives only the permissions required for their work. This improves database security. So the users are created, we need to enable access control. So if MongoDB is installed as a Windows service, we need to update mongodb.config file. So this file is located in C drive program files, MongoDB server folder, and within that version and inside version we have to select the bin folder. There we can locate mongodb.config file. Inside security next is inside security section, we need to add the following line. That is authorization enabled. This tells MongoDB to enforce authentication and authorization. After saving the file, we need to restart the MongoDB service. So for restarting, we first stop the service and then we need to start it. So the command to stop the service is net stop MongoDB. Following, we have to give net start MongoDB. Now the service has started. Now if I try to execute the command db.collectionname.find, I'll get an error message that is we require authentication. This is because we have enabled access control. So first checks whether the user has authenticated. Now no user has logged in, so MongoDB refuses to execute this command. So we have for authentication, we have two options. One is db.authentication method. So we have to switch to the user, and then we have to provide the method db.auth. Inside that, first give the username followed by password. So this will authenticate the user. After authentication, if we execute the db.collection.find, the query will be executed successfully. And another way to authenticate user is, so while starting the shell, we can provide the credentials. So mongo sh space username space -p password and the authentication database. So we can use both the methods to authenticate the user before any database operations are performed. Here is another example. I have created a user with read role on testdb. If I have started the MongoDB server, if I try to insert one record with that user, I'll get the error message. Whereas with the same user, if I execute find command, it will be executed successfully.